Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com, where we break down common GMP mistakes, inspection risks, and the small control gaps that turn into big observations.
Today, we're cracking open a case file on a super critical moment in quality control. This is the kind of thing that happens in labs every single day, a situation where the entire integrity of a product can hang on one tiny, often missed detail. Let's start the investigation. So, picture this. It's a scene you probably know well. The QC team wraps up their analysis. The final reports are printed out, and hey, they look great, clean. On the surface, everything is going exactly to plan. The next step? No problems there. The supervisor gives the reports a good, thorough review. All the numbers line up, all the results are perfectly in spec. They grab a pen and sign on the dotted line. And with that one signature, it's official. The batch is released, the product is good to go, the job is done. Or is it? And then, a question from quality assurance just stops everything cold. Where is the audit trail review evidence? And suddenly that simple, routine process has a massive, glaring problem. This question right here is the heart of our entire case file. See, the team reviewed the final report, but they never looked at the history. So, under GMP, is that okay? Is looking at the pretty, finished picture the same thing as knowing the whole story? The answer is a hard no. It is a failure. We're talking about a data integrity failure. So let's be super clear. This isn't some tiny oversight. It's a fundamental breakdown that completely undermines the trust you can have in that data. Yeah, this goes way beyond a simple procedural slip-up. This is all about a question of integrity. I mean, without the full story, how can you really truly trust that final report? Let's dig into why. The audit trail review is basically your #1 detection control. Think of it like a detective's logbook. It's the tool you use to see if data has been messed with, deleted, or changed in any way that could affect a huge GMP decision, like, releasing an entire batch of product. So, this brings us to the most important piece of evidence in our case. The huge difference between that final report and the complete history that's sitting right there in the audit trail. Trust me, they tell two very, very different stories. And you absolutely have to understand this difference. The final report? That's the highlight reel. It's the polished, clean, finished story. But the audit trail? Oh, that's the raw footage. It has every single edit, every note, every deleted scene. It shows you the who, the what, the when, and, most importantly, the why behind every single change. Okay, so how do you make sure you're reading the whole story and not just getting fooled by the summary on the back of the book? You need a solid playbook for your investigation. Let's walk through it. This playbook really has 3 core steps. First, you have to define what a review actually means for each system, because a chromatography system is not the same as a LIMS, right? Second, you set the frequency based on risk. For critical data, this isn't optional. It has to be reviewed before that batch goes anywhere. And third, you define your triggers, the specific things that automatically make you say, whoa, hold on, we need to take a much closer look here. So what are you looking for? Here's your investigator's checklist. You're hunting for clues, things like reprocessing events, deleted data, or somebody overriding test parameters. You're watching for late edits that happen after a result was already approved, weird admin logins, or any changes to the system clock, and maybe the biggest red flag of all, any change that's made with zero justification written down. Look, a great investigation is one thing, but it's useless if you don't document everything. You have to build a solid, defensible case file. Because if you can't prove you did the review, in the eyes of an inspector, it never happened. It's that simple. So your case file absolutely must have these essentials: a crystal clear standard operating procedure, checklists tailored to each system, and this is non-negotiable, signed and dated evidence of every single review. You also need a process for what to do when you find something weird, and clear rules so everyone knows what their job is. All right, let's talk about the ultimate detectives in this whole story, the inspectors. They are trained to find the gaps, and believe me, there is one mistake they find way more often than anything else. And here it is. This is the big one. The most common wrong move is just calling a report review an audit trail review. It's basically trying to pass off the book summary as a full manuscript review. Inspectors know this trick, and they know exactly how to expose it. An inspector's method is actually super simple. First, they'll ask for the final records of a batch that's already out the door. Then, they'll ask for the full audit trail for that same exact data. They'll lay them out side by side and just compare. Any change, any deletion in that audit trail that isn't perfectly justified and documented in the final report becomes instant proof of a data integrity failure. So, we close this case file with a question I want you to take back to your own work. Your final report. It might look perfect, absolutely clean. But if an inspector pulled the records, what would its history really reveal?
If this helped, like and subscribe.